Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Noding. In this episode, we're gonna learn how to create something like this from scratch. It's not actually that complicated, and this is actually something that's eventually we can create using particle nodes, maybe in Blender. It should be pretty easy. So let's get started. So basically, we need to spawn a bunch of points, and if you want to spawn a bunch of points, you can use anything. You can just use random vector and then viewer b mesh. And okay, you definitely need an object. So for my objects, I will use icosphere, and there is the new diamond mesh. So instead of using icosphere, I turn it into something that's a little bit fancier. So diamond mesh. And how many we want? Maybe we can try with 20 for now. So yeah, so now we have 20 objects. Usually I always recommend you don't go over 1,000 of objects, and actually that's true if you want to keep everything like real time, because 1,000 or 2,000 over, it started to you can't actually go that high unless you are using particle system and instancing. So that's actually kind of makes sense. Anyway, so I spawn a bunch of objects, just 20 objects. Actually, just make it 25 so it's easier. So 20 objects, and this is still live. You can see there's 25 objects in the outliner. I'm gonna save this. So this is, I just call it spawn. So now that we have 20 objects, I just turn off live. Okay, so it's no longer live, it's no longer updating. Now what we want to do is to use this object ID selector and object ID set. So ideally, I'd like to be able to just plug these objects into this guy. It should actually work in general, but for now, we're just gonna use this object ID selector, and I'm gonna actually grab objects. We can actually filter this out if you want. So if it's gonna grab this one, will grab all the objects in the scene, but this one will filter out only alpha. And so we can control the alpha. So the position of this, when we first spawn it, we don't need to worry about the positions, because eventually we're gonna override it. For example, here, I'm gonna just put all of this in line. Okay, so this object ID selector is actually, this object ID nodes is actually very powerful. If you look at all object ID nodes, all these nodes can control basically anything in Blender. It's gonna override. It's gonna do it in pause before animation playback. I think that's how it should. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's say you have this line and then you use noise displacement. So we first arrange these balls or this diamond in line, and then now we kind of randomizing it using noise. Okay, and like I said, this actually can be used for animations. Let's increase the scale, for example. And normally, okay, if I were to do this manually, I'm just gonna do it manually for now. I'm gonna select all of this, and say with this noise thing, if we use frame to drive the vector, to drive the matrix of the noise, we can kind of wiggle. Okay, that's too fast, so we're gonna use a scalar math to drive it. So it's now kind of like a wiggle. Animation nodes have this, can do this very easily. So at this point, we can keyframe it. So the way I like to do it is to do it like this: location, rotation, scale, and then while having this selected, I'm gonna hit I. Successfully added 225 keyframes. Okay, and then I'm gonna step back. I'm gonna step over keyframes and then make 100 keyframes. This actually can be automated. I'm not gonna tell you right now, but do it manually. It's okay. So now we can delete everything, and I'm gonna show you how you can. Because we have a file export USD, now we can actually just export this out. File export USD. Turn on animations. I should have given a material. Don't worry for now. Let's check out the result of these animations. So desktop. All right. So this is an AR. Okay, AR ready. Just material needs to be worked. Gonna undo the deletions. Save file, save as. So yeah, that's cool and dandy, and that's just like moving the locations. I recommend you to actually use these locations and also scale beforehand in case you want to scale them. So use vector in, but later on you will see that we can scale it differently. So if you want to randomize this, you can scale it here. However, over here also at the back, there's you can use matrix world, if I'm not wrong. Okay, matrix world, and then use the matrix. This one will actually somewhat, this will override everything. At whatever happens here, this one will override it. I wish it can simply like combine it. Maybe you can using matrix math. Maybe you can do it this way. It's probably better. So, but we need to output the matrix here, and then oh well. Anyway, for now we're gonna override it. So whatever we do here, we're gonna plug it there, the same. And then if you want to randomize the scale, you can do it here. Random number, float, we have 25 objects, and we randomize the scale. Okay, so I'm doing this very slowly, so just so it makes sense. So we started with line, 25 of them, but we can increase this number and we can change the grid. So let's use vector P. That's a 5 by 5, 1. So we have 25. Plug this into the vertices of the noise. So now we can spread them apart. Yeah, this should works. Okay, 5 by 5 by 5, and then now we have 125. We can do it this way, but we need to update the number here. So I update the number, and now everything should work. So there's like 2 steps. Like I said, ideally this object should plug there. It doesn't work somehow, so that's okay. So vector P field noise displays, we want to move this up a little bit because we don't want this to touch the floor. Move it up a little bit. So 5 by 5 by 5. Spread them apart. So I think that's pretty good. And okay, that's interesting. Oh yeah, maybe that's the original position of these guys. Oh, I mean, they have animations. Okay, that's gonna delete. So now it should be good. I'm gonna save this, and this is a good setup. Even though it's not particles yet, this is a really good setup if you want to control up to 1,000 or maybe even 10,000 of objects. This will actually work. And not just objects, you can actually control bones. If you are using Blender Bones, you can use the same setup, just apply this into post bones. So I think this is pretty powerful, and they are all currently the same. We can actually plug this into the rotations and then just give this a bit of number. So that's a like random vector, slightly rotate, or actually in just use random vector for the rotation. Okay, I forgot. It should be noise displays plugged into the rotations. No, so now they are all having the same, a different rotation, slightly different. And give it a material. So this material, I'm gonna give it some red metallic. Pretty cool. And plug this into this guy. So I make it live again, turn off live. You can control them. Some kind of red or like a ruby kind of that diamonds floating in the sky. All right, cool. You can control this using anything. Just simply plug it into the matrices. So it can be like a grease pencil writing. That's also possible. It can also be then the particles that could work, as long the number of points is the same. Okay, so this is yeah, pretty much what I want to show you. It's there's a lot of things you can play around with. So using different type of noise, increase the noise, decrease the noise. So it's basically like wiggling. So like I said, bake the keyframe. You can just keyframe it this way, but I'm not gonna do that. We can, I'm just gonna show you one more thing. So grease pencil stroke. I'm just gonna draw something. So this grease pencil, GP, grease pencil, GP layer, active frame. And then this we need to, so one thing with the resampling of grease pencil, we need to make sure that we have the points, these points numbers need to be 125. But it's okay for now, we just, because this is a quick one, we can just plug this into the vector. Okay, so this is the grease pencil one. Join it. This can be the original position of our whatever we are doing here. Okay, see, we don't have enough points, but we can increase the number of points, of course, but make sure they are still kind of okay. So that's about right. I'm keeping the number 125 points. There we go. Yeah, I guess it's quite pretty, and yeah, you can write anything here. Of course, this is grease pencil. This is still alive, so we can just delete these points and try maybe draw something else. draw shape, and it's done, and update it. So now we have heart. Make this smaller. Right. So kind of like a Valentine's, still kind of Valentine's mood. So we can have these shapes. Ah, interesting. See just now it's changing. That, you know why it's changing? Because it's actually reading into Grease Pencil keyframe. Not many people actually know this. The first time they use Grease Pencil, okay, they thought it's just a single keyframe. It's actually, we know it, right? It's you can keyframe Grease Pencil. So Grease Pencil is powerful. All right, there you go. And of course, you can simply keyframe this using the same trick. I'm just gonna do it manually. You can figure out yourself how to do this automatically, just for fun. Delete everything. So we have this. We have nothing, no nodes whatsoever. Export as this USD, and here we go. This is an animated AR. You can simply share it on the iPhone or the iPad. Okay, there is a pop there. Okay, so ideally the last part should go back to the first part. So you can use like the old trick to do that with a layer and blending. I'll let you figure that out. But that's basically how you can create this kind of a particle diamond floating in space. All right. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.